So hi, I'm Tim, and I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. My past started with drugs when I was 11 years old, and I came across the big kids in the woods smoking a joint. By the time I was in high school, it was pretty much 2 to 3 times a week, which led on to other things, a lot of alcohol. I came from a very religious family, and I rebelled against all of what they had taught me. I left home when I was 18 years old, just after I got out of high school. I lived in inner city places for several years. I worked construction. I always had a job because I was good at what I did and I liked what I did. But it also was able to afford me a lot of extras. And those extras lots of times weren't what I should have done. And through difficult dealings with roommates and life in general, I got so hateful towards my family that eventually I moved away. I moved all the way to Massachusetts. And I lived there for 3 years. The first year wasn't bad. I was very energetic and people liked me. But I got more and more into club scenes, and I fell into a group of people that were bad, very bad people. And in my excitement to be away from everything that I was when I was young, I just clung on to them and just kept going in. My end of things was a lot about smuggling things into the country. I didn't know what I was talking about, but being young and I guess a fresh mind, that I just threw things out there that were crazy, and it worked. There's a lot of time I don't remember. I don't know why, probably because of the overload of everything that I was putting in my body. But through this journey, the one thing I know is that Jesus never stopped. I went missing for a year. I don't know what I did. I have nightmares from time to time. But I finally was able to crash. And in the crash, there was people that came and helped. I didn't even know these people. I think Jesus sent them. I finally connected back to my mom and dad, and it had been over a year since I had talked to them. But the first thing my mother said was, "Oh my God, I thought you were dead." I told her that I had to come home, and they were right there willing to pay for everything to get me there and so on. But I'm kind of bullheaded. And I also knew that if, again, they would do this for me, I wouldn't come out with the strength that I have today. So I was able to find work and make money. It took me 3-4 months, but I finally had enough money to rent a vehicle and come back home. It wasn't joyous. It was just I was home, and it was better than where I was at, because I knew where I was at would be death otherwise. I moved back out to my own place, and I was able to get a really good job. And it was all people that were from the church that my parents were all about, and we had gone through since I was a baby. And they were gentle with me, knowing that there were some things that nobody could explain. They put me back on a solid path where I was, again, feeling good about myself, because I hated myself for many years. And in hating myself, I hated others around me, and a lot of them don't like me, and I don't blame them. But after a time, I couldn't live in Michigan no more. The winters were too brutal on me. Arthritic problems would be so bad in the wintertime that I could hardly walk. My younger brother and his wife had moved to Atlanta years earlier, and they asked me to come move with them. So I moved down there. It didn't take long for that to go bad. My brother and I didn't agree on pretty much everything. I told him I'd get out. I'd find my own place, and he wouldn't have to deal with me ever again. That, of course, was more argument. And it was within a month, a house came available. It needed a lot of work, but that's what I was. And that was something that would keep me away from bars and from party life. Because bars and party life is what kept bringing me to on the edge of crash, and crashes back into hard drugs. So besides working 65 to 70 hours a week, I worked on my house. I didn't have any friends. I didn't go hang out with guys at work because I was most of them's boss. I lived by myself in that house for pretty much 3 years. A fellow at work who had fallen back in to cocaine and all those things. His wife kicked him out and he had nowhere to go. So I let him move in with me. That was a mistake. At first I was really good, and I just kept on doing my thing, and he came in and out when he did. But as things went, we hung out more, and I started going to clubs again. Through all this, my older brother, his life revolves around airplanes. He was in the Navy, and he became a Blue Angel pilot. I periodically would talk to him. I did go to one air show in Jacksonville in his first year, and it was all right. But I always looked for the party all the time. After everything was done, I looked this time to find the party again. And it got to the point where all I cared about was once the important stuff was done, it was time to party. I had a few instances on job sites that didn't make me look like that person I wanted to look like. And in that, I became more recluse. And then my mom died. It was probably the hardest thing in my life. Because even though I wasn't always talking to my mom, when we did talk, we talked about everything. And she always gave me the best Jesus answer. So sometime later, into the next year, 2001, my older brother had gotten a hold of me, and he told me that he had gotten a hotel room on the beach here for the beach air show. I didn't want to do anything with family. So after a couple of weeks of thinking about it and so on, I decided, okay, I'll go. I'll go to the air show. I'm gonna take my roommate and his kids with me. He had kids. To me, it was, let's just get this over with so I can just go back to existing like I do. So I came to Pensacola to Hampton Inn on the beach. That's where the room was. I got there with my roommate and his kids, and they gave my room away. The room that my older brother had got. So as I was calmly explaining this to the gal, which that right there kind of surprises me, because usually calm didn't last very long when someone did something wrong in my occurrence. They scrambled, said they would have something here soon, only because they found out it was my brother that rented the room. So I decided to not say nothing and go out backside of the hotel and look at the water. There was planes flying around. I walked out on that back deck. And that's when God said, here, it's time for your life to change. And my wife, Sherry, was working the tiki hut, and I couldn't keep my eyes off her. I had a nice camera with me, a 35 millimeter lens camera. So the blues started flying. I just started taking pictures like mad just so I could buy film from her. I think I bought 5 rolls. By the time they were done, we were kind of chatty. And I asked her, where was the best place to eat on Pensacola Beach? And she told me Peg Leg Pete's is our favorite restaurant. So I asked her out. Now, she immediately said, oh, I have kids, and I have to go home to them. And I told her that I didn't mind that she had children and she needed to bring them along. She agreed. So I went home that weekend. I don't know if I was changed so much, but I was yearning for something else more than I ever had. And that was to be with somebody. A few weeks after I got home, my father had rented a beach house down here on Pensacola Beach. because that was one of the things he tried to keep going, to keep our family connected. So another week in Pensacola Beach. That's when Sherry and I got to know each other really good. And that changed things. After that week when I went back home, I didn't look for the party no more. I crashed a couple more times because I was now alone, and I knew it before I didn't care. Now I did, but she was determined. She would call and get my roommate to wake me up so she could talk to me. That took me back. Why would she want me to that much? I guess she saw my heart before most others did. I came down to Pensacola 23 times in 11 months. It took me away from the city party atmosphere. It brought me to a more peaceful and a loving situation. And I hadn't accepted that since I was young. And all that love from that family that they gave me. We got married after 11 months, and I moved here. I gave up everything the city offered, which was quite a bit, but I didn't want that. And through leaving that behind, I was also able to leave behind the drugs. And over time, I let myself more and more be me. I have no children, but my stepsons mean a lot to me. I love my wife. I love Jesus. He brought me out of the darkness through the beauty of my marriage. God blessed me with being able to start a business. And every time it looks like it's not going to be enough, it's always enough and more. I'm very open nowadays to sharing past experiences. I worry things of the past will shake me again. But I'm always happily surprised through talking about Jesus and how he saved me from myself. Brings happiness. I'm so thankful for my church and all the people here. I have more friends now than I ever have, and I don't try to push them away. Thank you, Jesus. I'm so thankful that Jesus never stopped. He knew who I was. He made me, and he knew what I had to do, and that it would bring joy to me, something that I wouldn't allow in the past is joy. Now every day is joy.